Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something powerful right now. Have you ever walked into a room and felt like you had to prove yourself to be chosen? Like your worth was up for negotiation based on whether he texted back, he committed, he noticed you. When you choose yourself, you stop waiting for someone else to validate your worth. You no longer depend on someone liking you, texting you, chasing you to feel important. You understand that the most powerful thing can do in any relationship is to own your value before anyone else does. You are the prize means you are not auditioning to be liked. You are observing who earns the privilege of access to your time, energy, and love. The shift happens the moment you stop seeking external approval and start living in a way that's aligned with your self-respect. When a woman knows she is the prize, her energy completely changes. She doesn't over-explain. She doesn't try to convince someone to stay. She doesn't shrink herself to be more palatable or bend her standards to keep someone interested. She doesn't chase. Instead, she evaluates. She listens to how a man treats her, not just what he says. She pays attention to effort, not promises. And if his actions are inconsistent, if he's unclear, unavailable, or flaky, she doesn't wait around hoping he'll figure it out. She walks away, not from him, but toward herself. Being the prize means you no longer base your value on how someone else responds to you. You don't fall apart if he pulls away. You don't take it personally if he chooses someone else. Because deep down, you know what you bring to the table. Being perfect. You know that love isn't about trying to be chosen. It's about you choosing yourself so strongly that you attract people who reflect the love you already have for yourself. A woman who chooses herself lives differently. She takes care of her mind, her body, her environment. She invests in her passions, friendships, and growth. She doesn't put her life on pause for a man's potential. Her world keeps spinning, with or without him. That energy is rare and magnetic, because it communicates that while she may want love, she doesn't need it to feel whole. She is already whole. That kind of self-possession pulls in high-quality partners who see her clearly and feel inspired to step up. In contrast, when you forget that you are the prize, you start chasing. You start settling. You lower your standards. You ignore red flags, and you overextend in hopes of earning affection. You shape-shift, tolerate breadcrumbs, and cling to people who even meet the baseline of what you deserve. All because deep down, you're hoping to be seen. But being seen doesn't come from people-pleasing. It comes from owning your presence, even if no one claps for it. When you choose yourself, your time becomes sacred. You don't just give it away to anyone who shows interest. You protect it for someone who shows consistency, clarity, and commitment. You create boundaries not to push people away but protect your peace. And in doing so, you send a message to the world: I value myself too much to participate in anything that costs me my dignity. This mindset doesn't just change how others see you, it transforms how you see yourself. You walk differently. Speak differently. Love differently. You stop trying to be enough and realize you already are. You don't need to perform, prove, or pursue. You simply become the kind of person who is so grounded in their worth that others are drawn in without you lifting a finger. Being the prize is not arrogance. It's clarity. It's the knowing that you are never supposed to compete, beg, or chase. You are supposed to stand in your light and let the right person step forward. Because when you choose yourself first, the right one will recognize your value without needing to be convinced. When you choose yourself, you naturally shift from being someone who anxiously waits for love to someone who sets the tone for how love enters your life. Men chase what they fear losing, not out of pressure or manipulation, but because genuine value commands attention. When a man senses that a woman is grounded in self-worth, living fully, and unwilling to compromise her peace for temporary affection, he realizes that her presence is not guaranteed. That feeling, that she could walk away any moment if her standards are not met, creates urgency, not because she's playing a game, but because her energy speaks truth. She will not stay where she is not respected. This principle comes into full effect when you choose yourself. Choosing yourself means showing up with clarity about what you want and what you won't tolerate. It means you're not afraid to walk away from half-effort, indecision, or inconsistency. And that energy changes everything. It tells a man that while you may be interested, you're not dependent. You are not waiting around for him to realize your worth. You've already realized it yourself. That difference is what separates someone who is easily replaceable from someone unforgettable. When a woman shows that she can live happily with, or without someone, she becomes a high-stakes emotional experience. The fear of losing her becomes real because she's not performing for attention. She's not tolerating mediocre behavior. She's not adjusting her boundaries just to keep a man interested. She's living by her values. She's thriving in her own life. And most importantly, that she's not afraid to say no. That creates emotional tension, a sense of risk that inspires pursuit. Not because she asked for it, but because she silently communicated that her love is a privilege, not a given. On the other hand, when you don't choose yourself, you make it easy for someone to treat you casually. If you're always available, always flexible, always accepting whatever crumbs are given, there is no fear of loss. There's no urgency. There's no feeling that something valuable could slip away. And when there's no perceived value, there's no chase. A man doesn't pursue what he believes he can access at any time without effort. But he will pursue what he requires him to step up, act with integrity, and show consistency. Because he knows if he doesn't, someone else will. Choosing yourself also means not being afraid of temporary loneliness. Many people hold on to poor connections because they fear being alone. But when you embrace solitude as a season of self-discovery, you become someone who only invites in relationships that elevate you. This is where true attraction builds. A man isn't drawn to desperation, he's drawn to energy that doesn't need fixing or saving. He's drawn to the woman who's already in motion, already fulfilled, already at peace. Because losing her would losing more than just a person. It would mean losing a presence that brought calm, clarity, and challenge. The more you choose yourself, the more you radiate self-respect. That radiance creates a subconscious contrast in his mind, between having you and losing you, between being in your life or being left behind. And that's the moment when he begins to chase, not because you asked him to, but because the idea of not having you becomes the real loss. The chase is not about tricking a man into action. It's about creating a life identity, an energy he wants to be part of, and making sure he knows it's something that won't wait forever. Because when you know your worth, you don't perfing, you rise. And he either rises with you or you keep rising without him. When you choose yourself, you no longer operate from a place of scarcity, fear, or the need to be chosen. You realize that love isn't something to chase. It's something to recognize, allow, and receive when it aligns with your truth. Don't chase. Choose is a mindset shift the moment you stop trying to earn love and instead start evaluating who is worthy of yours. When you chase, you put someone on a pedestal and place your own value in their hands. But when you choose, you take your power back and remember that your presence is something to be earned, not assumed. Choosing yourself means you understand your standards are not negotiable. You're not lowering them just to be liked. You're not overextending your energy to win someone's attention. This isn't about being perfect. You're not clinging to your potential while ignoring what's right in front of you. You're observing how someone shows up, how they make you feel, how they contribute to your peace. And you're making conscious decisions about whether that's someone who aligns with the life and love you want. When you chase, you override your intuition. You see the red flags and justify them. You feel the distance but try harder. You sense the mixed signals and take the blame. You silence your voice and settle for breadcrumbs because you're afraid that speaking up or stepping back will push someone away. But choosing yourself means you're willing to go of anything that doesn't meet your emotional needs. Even if it hurts, even if it's uncomfortable, even if you're afraid of starting over. You stop chasing validation and start choosing alignment. This shift changes everything. You move from being reactive to intentional. You no longer waste energy on people who confuse you, ignore your boundaries, or make you question your worth. You start looking at consistency, not chemistry. You stop fantasizing about potential and focus on what's actually being shown to you. And most importantly, you stop giving chances to people who don't give clarity. You don't chase closure. You don't chase effort. You don't chase words without action. You choose clarity, respect, and consistency every single time. When you live from this place, your energy transforms. You become a calm force. You don't need to prove anything. You're not afraid of silence or space because you understand that the right person won't require you to chase. They'll show up with the same clarity and confidence you bring. And if they don't, you walk. Not because you don't care, but because you care about your more. Choosing also means being self-aware. You're not just rejecting others, you're selecting intentionally. You're asking, does this person add to my life? Do they support my growth? Can I be myself around them without shrinking? You're no longer waiting for someone to choose you to feel whole. You're already whole. And that wholeness means you don't need a partner to fill a void. You want a partner to share your fullness. This is where real confidence lies. It's not in being loud or demanding. It's in knowing that your life is too meaningful and too peaceful to make room for confusion, games, or people who can't meet you where you are. You don't chase because chasing costs your peace. You choose because choosing reflects your power. When you choose yourself, you become unavailable for anything that disrupts your inner clarity. You don't fear rejection because you're not looking for external approval. You're simply moving through life with the quiet understanding that not everyone deserves access to you. And that inner knowing is what allows you to stay grounded, even when someone walks away. Because you're not here to chase someone into choosing you. You're here to choose yourself, again and again, until the right one chooses you too. When you choose yourself, you begin to understand that love without respect is not love at all. You stop confusing attention with affection and intensity with intimacy. You realize that being available, kind, or forgiving does not mean accepting behavior that drains you, disrespects you, or leaves you questioning your worth. Choosing yourself is the beginning of learn how to create and hold boundaries. And boundaries are not walls to push people away. They are the filters through which self-respect is communicated. Boundaries teach people how to treat you, and when you hold them consistently, you don't have to demand respect. It comes naturally. Boundaries are not selfish, they are sacred. They protect your peace, energy, and emotional well-being. They are rooted in the belief that your time, emotions, and body are valuable, and not everyone should have unlimited access to them. When you begin to choose yourself, your tolerance for confusion, mixed signals, half-effort, and inconsistency decreases. You no longer make excuses for someone's inability to meet your needs. Instead, you honor those needs and expect others to do the same if they want to stay in your life. Respect is born from clarity, and boundaries are what create that clarity. When you clearly express what is and isn't acceptable, people no longer have room to guess or test your limits. You stop sending mixed messages. You no longer entertain situations that leave you emotionally exhausted. You no longer give multiple chances to someone who continuously oversteps. The moment you choose yourself, you become unwilling to allow repeated access to someone who doesn't adjust after you've communicated what hurts or drains you. When you don't have boundaries, you become emotionally available for chose. Find yourself in cycles of overgiving, over-explaining, over-accommodating. You accept apologies without changed behavior. You silence your needs for the sake of keeping the peace. You feel resentful, but you blame yourself for feeling that way. And every time you override your discomfort to preserve a connection, you send a message both to them and to yourself that their comfort matters more than your well-being. That mindset slowly erodes your self-trust. But when you choose yourself, you begin to see that peace is not something someone else gives you. It's something you protect with your standards. Boundaries attract the right people and repel the wrong ones. When you choose yourself and set a boundary, someone who genuinely cares will respect it without needing constant reminders. They won't see your limit as an attack. They'll see it as an invitation to connect in an healthier way. They'll rise to the occasion because they see your value and want to be part of your life in a way that honors it. But someone who benefits from your lack of boundaries will resist them. They'll call you difficult. They'll label you as too much. They'll push back because they're no longer getting what they used to take freely. That discomfort is not your burden to carry. It's a reflection of their unwillingness to meet you where you stand. Choosing yourself means understanding that a no is not rude. It's honest. Saying, "I'm not okay with that," is dramatic. It's direct. You don't have to shrink, explain, or apologize for needing space, time, or clarity. You don't have to feel guilty for saying no to plans, conversations, or relationships that drain you. You're not being cold. You're being clear. And clarity is the most loving thing you can offer, both to yourself and to those around you. You are not responsible for someone's reaction, your boundary. You are only responsible for honoring yourself. And the moment you do, you teach people how to approach you. You show them that your love is available, but it's not unconditional in the face of disrespect. You communicate that being in your life is a privilege, not a right. That privilege is maintained through mutual care, honesty, and accountability. When you choose yourself, your boundaries become less about control and more about protection. You're no longer afraid of losing people because understand that anyone who walks away in response to your limits was never meant to stay. And anyone who stays respects them not out of obligation but of recognition. Recognition that your self-respect is non-negotiable, and that loving you means loving the version of you who is no longer willing to abandon herself. When you choose yourself, you no longer attach sense of worth to how someone treats you, how often they reach out, or whether they stay or leave. You begin to understand that your peace and power come from within, not from someone else's presence or approval. This is where detachment begins to form, not as coldness or indifference, but as emotional clarity. Detachment creates power because it frees you from the emotional cost of needing things to go a certain way in order to feel okay. It allows you to be present, grounded, and intentional in how you move through your connections, without being consumed by them. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop trying to control outcomes. You stop losing yourself in the process of trying to be chosen, loved, or validated. When you choose yourself, you detach from the idea that anyone else can complete you. You realize you are already whole. You are no longer investing energy into trying to fix someone, chase someone, or prove your worth to someone. That release gives you the power to stay in your truth. Even when it would be easier to abandon yourself for temporary affection. When you're emotionally attached to outcomes, you become reactive. If they text, you're happy. If they don't, you're anxious. If they give you attention, you feel wanted. If they pull away, you spiral. Your emotions get hijacked by the unpredictability of someone else's behavior. But when you detach, you create space between your identity and their actions. You can want someone and still be okay if they're not ready. You can care deeply and still walk away when your needs aren't being met. You become emotionally self-sufficient. That self-sufficiency doesn't push love away. It attracts the kind of love that respects your independence. Detachment allows you to see things clearly. You're not clouded by fantasy or potential. You stop projecting who you hope someone will become and start observing who they actually are. You listen to your intuition without dismissing it. You stop negotiating with red flags. You no longer hold on hoping they'll change, because you understand that staying in situations that drain you is a form of self-abandonment. Detachment is what gives you the strength to leave the table when your peace is on the line. It's not an act of resistance. It's an act of radical self-respect. Choosing yourself and practicing detachment helps you stay centered in your boundaries. You're not afraid to say no. You're not afraid to disappoint someone by honoring your truth. You no longer feel the need to chase closure, because you understand that closure often comes from clarity, not conversation. You're not available for games, inconsistency, or emotional roller coasters. You create calm within yourself and you protect it fiercely. This calmness becomes your power. It makes you less reactive and more discerning. You respond rather than react. You lead rather than follow. You own your space rather than shrinking to fit someone else's comfort. In detachment, perfect. You become powerful not because you have the upper hand, but because you are no longer willing to lose yourself in the process of trying to hold on to someone else. You're no longer available for love that costs your dignity, peace, or identity. You're not emotionally addicted to the highs of a toxic dynamic. You find your stability within, and from that place you operate with grace and strength. The person who learns to detach is the person who learns to stay grounded even when others are unpredictable. That level of emotional control is what makes your energy unshakable. The more you detach, the more you attract. People feel the difference when you're not chasing. Your energy becomes centered, calm, and magnetic. You're not trying to be you've already chosen yourself, and that choice is powerful. It tells the world, I want love, but I don't need chaos to feel alive. I am open, but I am not desperate. I am giving, but I am not overextending. Detachment is not about being hard or heartless. It's about being rooted in your own values so deeply that nothing can pull you away from it. When you choose yourself, you make peace with uncertainty. You trust that if someone is meant to be in your life, they will be, and if they're not, it's because something better aligns in of you who refuses to compromise her standards. Detachment gives you the strength to walk away not because you don't care, but because you care about yourself more than you care about holding on to something that no longer honors your growth. When you choose yourself, you begin to understand that real confidence isn't about being the loudest person in the room, the most extroverted, or the one who always has something clever to say. Real confidence is quiet. It's grounded. It's not in how much attention you attract, but in how comfortable you are without it. It's not in shouting your worth, but in never allowing it to be up for debate. Confidence isn't loud. It's certain. It shows up in how you carry yourself when no one is watching, how you respond when your boundaries are tested, and how you move on from anything that doesn't align with your peace. Choosing yourself means you no longer seek external permission to feel enough. You stop waiting for someone to validate your beauty, intelligence, or value. You don't need someone to call you special in order to feel special. That shift rewires how you experience relationships. You don't over-explain. You don't beg to be seen. You don't shrink when others don't understand you. You stay rooted in your own truth. That certainty is the kind of confidence that doesn't waver when someone walks away, doesn't disappear in silence, and doesn't crumble under rejection. Confidence is present when you no longer feel the need to perform. You're not pretending to be okay with things that bother you. You're not adjusting your personality fit into someone else's world. You don't try to become more likable at the expense of your authenticity. You speak with calm clarity. And if someone doesn't like it, you don't panic. Your voice is not for everyone. That deep knowing becomes your strength. A strength that doesn't need applause to feel valid. When you choose yourself, your confidence becomes internal. It's not built on how many people approve of you, how many compliments you get, or how many people want you. It's built on how you feel about yourself when you're alone. It's the relationship you build with yourself in quiet moments. The self-talk you choose, the promises you keep to yourself, the boundaries you don't break even when it's hard. That kind of confidence can't be faked, and it can't be taken away when circumstances shift. The reason confidence isn't loud is because it doesn't need to be. A woman who knows who she doesn't chase validation. She attracts respect. She doesn't compete. She exists. She's not threatened by others because she understands her path is unique. She's not intimidated by someone else's beauty, success, or love life, because she knows what's meant for her will never need force. Her presence speaks before she does, not because she demands attention, but because she carries herself with quiet dignity. That dignity is not pride's peace. It's the energy of someone who no longer negotiates her worth in spaces that can't hold her truth. Confidence becomes your filter. It helps you choose who belongs in your life, on who chooses you, but on who makes you feel more like yourself. You stop proving. You stop chasing. You stop over-functioning in relationships just to earn basic care. You know that love is not earned through performance. It's offered through presence. You no longer confuse anxiety with attraction or drama with depth. You gravitate toward what nourishes you, and you walk away from what drains you, not because you're bitter, but because you're sure. That sureness shows up in the way you say no without guilt, in the way you set boundaries without over-explaining. Perfect. In the way you leave the wrong relationship even when your heart is still attached, because your peace means more than your comfort. Confidence doesn't always feel like power. Sometimes it feels like grief, like letting go, like trusting that what you release created space for something better. But even in those moments, you don't crumble, because you know you're not lost. You're becoming. Choosing yourself teaches you that certainty isn't something you find outside. It's something you decide internally. You stop second-guessing every move, every decision, because you trust your intentions. You know you're not perfect, but you're real. You know you're still growing, but you're not settling. You walk through life with the confidence of someone who is not afraid to be alone, because you are already whole. And from that wholeness, you draw love that is peaceful, respect that is mutual, and connections that reflect the strength you found within yourself.